of familiar faces, so coming in, and everyone's busy, so hopefully we get something valuable out of the evening. So let's talk about stress. Who has stress in this room? Go ahead and raise their hand. All right, it's everybody. We live in America. Okay. I like to start out with this because these are just basic questions that you can always just ask yourself. That, you know, some of them are really true questions that you really do need to ask yourself, all right? Because some people don't really say they actually want to, but they don't necessarily want that. Does that make sense? So, is there anything more important to you than your health of yourself or your health of your loved ones? The answer is probably no, but the reality is that we take care of our more than we do ourselves a lot of times, right? It's just the truth. Some people. Do we want to be healthy and happy? Are you as healthy as happy as you want to be? What is health? What are the 5 characteristics of health? Is getting surgery helpful? Those are all questions that can be. They're not yes or no questions by any means because there can be different answers. But those are all questions that I want you to ask yourself. And then and then why or why not? Okay. So 5 concepts of understanding the truth on health and illness. So first of all, our genes have been the same for 40,000 years, all right? You're no different now as far as our genetic makeup than our ancestors or pre-industrial days. The reality is that the only difference is that the society that we put ourselves in, okay? And so genes are different. We're made the same. People are exactly the same. But modern illness is actually due to genetic factors. It isn't due to genetic factors. It's actually due to modern health. All right. So everyone said, oh, I'm sure. Again, not everyone said this, but everyone's heard this. That I have bad genes, or I got this from my mom, or I got that from my dad. Right? Everyone's heard that. Okay. Here's the truth on that.
Biggest one I hear, Doc, is blood pressure. Runs in my family, or cholesterol.
Yes, blood pressure, high cholesterol, or that. And that may be true. It might run in your family. Okay. But you got to look at it like this, and this is the easiest way to acknowledge that. Think of your genes like a library, all right? You go to the library and you want to pick out a book about health, and you want to pick a book out of whoever about sickness or whatever else. Think about, you have the opportunity to pick out this book, don't you? Each and every day in your entire life, you can pick that book out. Is it a healthy book? Or is it a book about saturated fats and then we live on that? Does that make sense? Or all day, every day? Not necessarily all saturated fats are good, but you have that opportunity to choose the book that you want, right? So think about genes as a library. Those genes are there. It's just that, are we going to let those come about? Are we going to actually let those manifest into something that they don't necessarily have to be? Because I'll tell you a question. I'm just going to tell you a story real quick. My professor, he was our nutrition professor back in school. He was from Venezuela, and he had 6 brothers and sisters. He was the only one that was not diabetic. But he was the only one that was in this profession that he taught nutrition, and he took care of himself, and he ate everything. So he was 65 years old. He was the only one. That's amazing, isn't it? So what book was he checking out of the library? Okay, so that's what I want you to go home with on that point. I want to make that clear that is the truth. If we actually want to do that, we have that choice, okay? The pond analogy is another example I'd like to use of that, because we're going to do some landscaping in our backyard, and we make 2 8x10 ponds, and we feed one of them, organic vegetation, some soil runoff, and then pure rainwater. This one's going to thrive, and it has what it needs. The other pond, let's say we give that potato chips, we give it a little bit of gas, we give it a little bit of oil. In a year or 2, it may not be any different, right? But what's going to happen after 10 years? There's going to be a huge difference. Well, can you say that's genetics? We built those exactly the same, didn't we? Can you say it's age? You can't say it's age. They're both 10 years old, but this one's it. Does that make sense? So it's what we do with our lives that actually has that effect. So it's safe to say that being exposed to chronic stress is the pathology, and that's what's going on in our 21st century. It's what we are exposed to on a regular basis. Okay, physiological changes that occur are no more pathological than if you are high up in the mountains, okay, and your red blood cells. People have hard trouble breathing, right? You have to adapt to that. It's no different than having to adapt to living in altitude. Okay, does that make sense? So again, our epidemic health problem is truly the environment we live in. It's not high blood pressure and lipids and glucose and all the other things that we have going on right now. So the point is this: these are intelligent adaptations that happen because of chronic stresses to our bodies. So my point is, it's kind of clinically impotent to look at it like that, because the reality is that you can go and take medication. Yeah, it's going to lower it because that's the standard, but it doesn't change the problem. It doesn't help the problem. It doesn't create things to become better. It doesn't make you healthier, and it's going to end up causing physiological changes at a later date on down the road, because other stress is going to have to happen from a biochemistry standpoint, right? So I'm going to touch on that a little bit more, but I just want you to think about that. So let me ramble. Homeostasis health. Only way to produce it is to decrease the chronic stressors that you have, learn to handle them a certain way, or change the adaptive abilities that you have with your lifestyle. You are the host there. So we are ourselves, our body is the host. So that's a bunch of little writing. You guys can read that, so don't even try. But I had to get that all on there because that's all important information, and it keeps me in line with what I want to talk about. Okay? So this is how our stress response works. Our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight. So that says tiger on there, but let's use something else. We're all in this room here. Say the door's locked, and we got someone coming in with a gun. Right? They're pounding on that wall with a gun. They want to come in here. Are you guys going to be thinking about sex? Is it going to be thinking about sex at that point in time? Okay. Are we going to be thinking about what food we're eating? Are you going to be understanding what I'm talking about? Are you going to be paying attention to what I'm talking about? No, you're not. Because what happens? All those senses are heightened. They're going to save you in that situation. Or you can use any example. You can use, this says a tiger's chasing you, right? If tigers run, you're not going to be thinking about what I'm talking about. You're not going to be able to take a test. If I have you answer that and someone's pounding on the door with a gun, you're not going to be able to answer those questions, because you don't need them. You don't need them at that point in time, because your fight and flight's kicked in. That's what's going. That's your hormone. That's what's clicking. That's your epinephrine. That's all that stuff going through. That's your cortisol. Catecholamines are what causes your heart to increase, so your blood pressure, your stroke volume, that all goes up. Okay, and so that's what ends up saving you, and that's what helps someone out, right? I can go on and on and on, but if I do that, then I'm just going to be reading. So I can use another example, like right out over here. There's all kinds of car accidents, right? When you go on the interstate right there. Okay, I've gotten one myself, right? When I first moved here, I had a little fender bender. That was scared the crap out of me, right? I slammed my brakes, boom, that's my innate intelligence, that's my epinephrine, that's my adrenaline kicking in. Guess what happens every time I go there now? I have something in my head that changes. It's called neuroplasticity, which I'll talk to in a moment. That's what changes in your mind to what? Let you know when that tiger is going to come attack you again. If you go to a watering hole and that's there, or every time I go down that hill, I'm going to know, hey, I need to pay attention to this, because I just got an accident. That can happen again. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's pretty much what this whole thing says right there, right? And it goes on and on and on. You're not going to study. You're not going to know what I'm teaching you, and that is your fight or flight. Okay. So we have things that go on in our brain and our adrenal glands that cause and go, and they go talk to each other and kick those in. That's your cortisol, your epinephrine, all those stress hormones that are tax. Okay, and so that's what happens. Stress sharpens your detection system at the cost of concentration. This is what I want to get through here. Stress sharpens your system at the cost of concentration. So again, you need that. You need that to survive. Otherwise, you could die in a lot of situations by slamming on your brakes, by swerving over, by running, by getting out of the way. But it also, chronic stress over time can lead to actually brain shrinking. That's what this bottom one says. So that's what happens. Well, here we go. So
it's shrinking.
Yeah. Put this on. So this just says a bunch of things that increase. Okay, so stress increases your glucose, it increases your blood lipids, it increases clotting factors, catecholamines, which is your fight or flight, increases your cortisol, does all that stuff, and it also decreases some things. Can cause bone loss, can cause muscle fibers to degenerate, can cause degeneration, can cause insulin resistance. All those things get taxed because of chronic stress. So what was made to actually help you in a situation of acute, which is what we need, we all know that, right? Because we need to see those, it's being continually and continually taxed on a regular basis for days, months, and sometimes even years. And so we put ourselves in a situation by taxing ourselves with chronic stress. Everything, right? If you live on a beach all day, every day, and you have no worries, what do you have to worry about? No, you don't have to worry about this bill. You don't have to worry about money making this bill. You don't have to have financial problems. You don't have to worry about a kid. If you're just on straight vacation, that's why stress relief. Imagine if you had that your whole life. It'd be pretty good, wouldn't it? Right? But so chronically, that's what happens for years and years and years, okay? So, chronic stress, all right? It's much more difficult to focus on positive things because of neuroplasticity. Now, that's what I was talking about. That's actually what happens in your brain. It can be from disease, it can be from damage, it can be from many things, but it can happen in your brain and actually have changes which cause you to have more emotion and more anxiety and become sensitive and overreactive. That can actually happen. There's studies on that. If you look that up, that's definitely what that is. So that's why it's important to have resourceful skills to know ahead of time that you can do things to calm yourself down and inhibit those stress levels. Because if you do that, and you know that you can do that, then it's going to help you out in the long run. Let me give you an example about that. So how someone can do that. All right, so let's use chiropractic, for example, okay? So a lot of people get nervous about their neck being adjusted, right? And so you get anxiety because of that. That's a way you can look at that. That's something that, because maybe you didn't like it, you get scared, you don't like the noise, whatever the case may be, but that's learned in your head. But what if someone comes in and has that, you get scared every time, but what if someone changes their mindset, comes in and says, you know what, I need that, it's going to relax my nervous system, I know it's healthy for me. So yeah, those are the same things. You can look at it two different ways. Let's talk about hormones. This can actually work as well. I'm just going to jump ahead. So runners, a lot of times people have a runner's high. You've heard that, right? That's your, that is some of your endorphins kicking in and some of your happy hormones, I like to say. And I'll look to that. But that's what kicks in when you run. Well, guess what? That's fun for that person. That calms them down. That is a stress reliever, right? We know that. We know the endorphins can cause that. So this person's running. Well, guess what? This other person's running from a tiger. He's still running. But what's he using? He's using different stress hormones. Both doing the same thing. But one's running from a tiger, and that's going to cause him to go into stress. It's going to save his life then, but he's not going to need his immune system then, is he? He's going to need that after the fact. If he gets attacked, then he survives that. Okay. So that's the difference on that, and those are two ways you can look at that, and that's two ways how your brain can say, okay, this one's good for me, I need this one's not so much, okay? So we are in control a lot of times, so that's why it's important to develop those skills. So basically, in a nutshell, we tax ourselves and our adaptability to the limit, and what's going to inevitably result is a dysfunction, and that's what's happening. That's why we have, the last 50 years, every year, more people with cancer, more people with heart disease, more people with this, because this is the way our model's set up. Okay, that's why they're not doing the opposite. In the second slide here, this is important. It's changes in homeostasis over a period of time will take place in new allostatic load. Okay, so I'm going to explain what that is. Allostatic load means the chronic stress that someone goes through over time. All right, and so it basically is your nerves and your endocrine that is chronically stressed, and it takes a toll. And you have a load, and you keep going, and it gets to a point where it's visible. And that's what that is. So the study here has 200 patients, and they divide it out. One has a low allostatic load, or therefore, just let's, for simplicity, low or no stress. This other group has really high stress. Okay, broke them up. They actually just use blood pressure and blood lipids for the study. But the person with the homeostatic points that were high blood pressure, high blood lipids over a 2-year period had over a 500% increase in developing chronic sickness. So that is a huge difference over a 2-year period of time just due to stress. That's pretty amazing. 500%. That's a big jump. That's a huge jump. And imagine if you're paying like that. It might be a good thing, right? So the reality is that these major killers that are intelligent adaptations, like heart disease and stroke and cancer, these things that happen because of all this, those are our #1 killers. Now, the other ones below aren't necessarily killers, but they are also due to chronic stresses in our body, like fibromyalgia, could decrease sex drive, ADHD, autism. There are studies on all this stuff. Depression, obesity, anxiety. Those are all things that even many medical journals will say are lifestyle changes and things that actually can be preventable if we do the right things. Irritable bowel syndrome. That's one of those things, okay? That's one I like to touch on because a lot of people have, or any kind of digestive issue, okay? And that's what our next talk's going to be, mind use digestion, so and gut-brain connection. But a lot of people have issues with their digestion, okay? Inflammation, remember that, it's inflammation. Well, what do we eat? People eat. They eat sugar. They eat Dunkin' Donuts. If that wasn't the case, there wouldn't be McDonald's and there wouldn't be Dunkin' Donuts all over the place. There's a reason why they're there. They're not going out of business, but a better, a nice restaurant, a nice place, maybe a healthier place has probably gone out of business around those areas. So here's a typical scenario in our society. Again, this is little writing, so I'm just gonna talk it out. So you have high blood pressure, okay? High blood pressure is seen as a pathology. You go to a medical doc, and that's how it's seen. It's a pathology, and so what happens? It's not seen as an intelligent adaptation. It's a pathology. So take blood pressure medication, and it goes down. All right? Bingo. They have a winner there, right? That's how they measure that. If you look at it from pharmaceuticals and whatnot. So bingo, we have a winner. But they don't, because they don't look at it as an intelligent adaptation. But remember, your body adapts to that. It says, hey, we need to function at this level in order for you to have homeostasis. Okay? So if it goes up 10% or whatever on a regular basis, that's what your homeostasis is in order for you to function at your optimum level. So you take something and it lowers it down artificially, mind you. Okay? So it's coming out artificially. Well, what happens to yourself? What's going on inside you? Well, your hormones say, look, our blood pressure is lower than it's supposed to be. And over time, what's going to happen is your body will start producing stress hormones. Why? We have low blood pressure. This isn't right. If it's high blood pressure, you want to bring it down. If it's low blood pressure, you want to increase it. This isn't right. Stress hormones are still going to kick in the exact same way. Okay? But now, instead of trying to lower your blood, they're going to increase your blood pressure. If someone's in 5 years, long over time, then you have some other issue that pops up. And that arises. Does that make sense? So basically, someone was on blood pressure and they thought they were doing some good things and they think that's a success because, hey, I have lower blood pressure. But the reality is that you hinder the ability for your body to adapt to other things and other issues because you keep taking a drug for something else. And so now, someone might be on several drugs, and what happens if you just stop taking your blood pressure, all that stuff? It's going to go through the roof because your stress hormones are still there kicking. It's going to go through, and then it's going to go boom. Okay? You might get depressed. There's other things that can happen. Everybody's different, but I have a couple examples here of declining health. So let's say you get depressed and you're on the depression meds. Okay? Boom. You get a bunch of serotonin. They're going to bring that up, right? We want you to be happy. So what's going to happen? The other loop's going to occur. Your body's going to suppress that. Say, no, we want to bring that back down. We want to have balance. Does that make sense? So cortisol. Cortisol, that's your hormone that is one of those stress hormones. Cholesterol, that can be hindered, all right? So you have high cholesterol because cholesterol is what? That is, for you as you don't know, that is a precursor to all your stress hormones, all right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why when people are stressed out, they end up getting high cholesterol because that's what happens. It keeps kicking in, it keeps going because you have so many things in overdrive. And so in order to lower your cholesterol then, let's put that piece together. You have to change the lifestyle. You have to do things to bring down your blood pressure. You have to do things innately to do that. Otherwise, it's going to go down that road. And that's why you see people that are on 10 to 12 medications, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're on this one, and then you got this one, and then you have this one, and then you have this one. But guess what? You never carried this root problem. Imagine if they would have just taken care of this first initial problem of blood pressure, if that's the case. They would have just taken care of that and got that down and changed their lifestyle for 6 months. Then you wouldn't have to go through all that whole other big circus of bringing acidic drugs in your body on a regular basis. But I know people need them sometimes. That's the reality, but not to help you in a chronic situation, right? So in a nutshell, that's what all that stuff says there. All right. So drugs do lower blood pressure and they lower cholesterol and things like that. Yes, they absolutely do. And research, the problem is that research doesn't ask if it makes you healthy, if it prolongs your life, if it's going to actually cause you to have a thriving and increased quality of life. All it's doing is measuring that. All right. It's good for symptom relief, but not for restoration of health. And that's the point with that. Yeah, people are sick and they're still dying, okay? So you know people that die, right? And it's not like, oh, everything was good a year ago. I don't have any more drugs. I've been good for a year, and then you pass. That doesn't happen. That's not how it works. I guarantee you go look in those medicine cabinets, the medicine's going to be full in there a lot of times, right? It's not like these people were just, they die on these medications because it doesn't increase your health. That's the point. All right, so the solution from a standpoint of natural, so our left prefrontal cortex deals with emotion and conscious thought, all right? And so that's what you have to work on, and that's what you have to do. You have to inhibit the stress responses before they kick in, okay? That's how you lower your stress levels. So people that have self-talk, which I'm scared, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, you need to do something like, there's many things that you can do, and we'll allude to that, but, like, I'm calm. If everybody's heard of emotional freedom technique, I'm calm. I'm going to be relaxed. And you keep telling yourself, okay, that's one example that you can do with that, all right? But it's difficult because of the neuroplasticity. People have changes in their brain and their functions. So you could do it, it's just that's what creates the problem when people have chronic stress, because it's changed and it's adapted over that long period of time. So negative and stressful thoughts create the same mechanism in the body that deals with deficiencies, because what do we either have? We either have toxicities or deficiencies. We're just like the pond, all right? You're not going to throw ibuprofen in that pond to make it healthier. The only way you're going to restore that pond that I alluded to is to get rid of the gas, get rid of the potato chips, and make it be like its buddy next to it if you want it to thrive, right? You're never going to throw, heart medications or anything like that in there, are you? Because it's just not innate. That's not what's supposed to happen. And so, so in order to break that cycle is to create patterns, create healthy patterns in order to change the biomechanical structure of the brain and everything that's going on from a physiological standpoint in your body. And you have to do that with endorphin and serotonin release. And again, someone said that earlier, but those are your happy, I like to call them happy hormones, right? That's what you have. That's why people exercise and put them in a better mood, and it's a stress relief. That's why laughing helps you out. That's why, whether you believe in meditation or not, there's some pretty good studies that say, meditation can decrease blood pressure as well. Guess what? Chiropractic adjustments do that. I'm sure you heard my doctorate talk about it, up to 70% decrease in blood pressure. That helps, okay? Because it calms your nervous system. Sufficiency of positive body and internal dialogue. All that basically says our genomes were designed for positive thoughts, not negative thoughts. And they've been like that since the beginning of time. The bottom there is really, really important. I love this. We should put it out on the side. Drugs cannot create a healthy pathway. They can artificially supply an inhibitor at the expense of causing other problems. They can artificially supply an inhibitor at the expense of causing other problems, which is the whole big point there. You get one, you think it's okay, it's good. 5 years down the road, I got this problem. Another couple of years, I got that problem. Another couple of years, I got that problem. And that's what happens, and that's the road you want to go down. I call it the freight train. How fast do you want to go down that freight train? Do you want to go 100 miles an hour? Do you want to slow it down? Do you want to go the opposite way? So what do I do? Where do I start? Okay, first thing, educate yourself in baby steps, all right? No one goes and runs a marathon and doesn't train for it, all right? If you do, hey, kudos to you. I want to meet this person, but nobody does that. You have to do baby steps. Just like when I talk about, alkalizing your diet. I always tell people, do lemons or limes at first if you don't want to eat all the other stuff, because those are alkalizing things and they're pretty easy to do. You can put those in the water and start alkalizing your diet. Okay, so baby steps. The only way to produce the homeostasis and again, health in your body is to get rid of the chronic stressors, or recognize what they are first and foremost from an emotional standpoint, because we are in control. We have a mind that can do that. Reduce those stressors or improve the adaptabilities in our body. How do we improve the adaptabilities in our body? Have to create good rhythms. Sleep's a good start. Okay. People don't have sleep. If you're not sleeping a lot, cortisol, boom, 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 boom. There it is, right through the roof. Okay, that's a chronic stressor. So napping may be very important. I wish I could nap. That'd be nice, right? Sometimes once in a while on a weekend I'll be able to get one in. Not all the time, but it's always fun when I do. I enjoy that. Exercise is physiological necessity. Again, those endorphins that she alluded to, that kicks those in, makes you happy, and it's healthy. It gets the heart pumping, it gets oxygen going through there. It can help with obviously you're lowering your blood pressure. It's going to make your lungs better. It's going to make a lot of things function better from a standpoint of health. Eating in a rhythm of raw whole foods. Again, the innate diet. Dunkin' Donuts is a no-no. I know they taste pretty good, but that's a no-no. So again, these are baby steps, guys. It's not just, oh, just boom, no big change, because it's not going to happen. You're not going to go run that marathon. You have to do baby steps. Maybe you want to do a little 3.2, 5K, right? It's 3.2 miles. Yeah. And then you want to build yourself up to a half. Do you see what I'm saying? And then you want to work on that, because that's how you can gradually get better. So I would say the first step is to, instead of eating 2 donuts, eat 1, right? And then substitute the other one with an apple or banana, right? And over time, that'll change, and you'll probably be healthier in a year, right? Instead of maybe drinking coffee all day, and we only have it in the morning, and then have a vitamin B in the afternoon, right? We know that's good for our nerve cells. Chiropractic is huge for this, okay? Why? And again, this is not stress, but again, chiropractic. So when people sit all day, that taxes us because we used to do that. Our spine becomes rigid. We don't move. We sit and you're just stiff, right? So people are stiff in the morning. You've been laying in one spot all day every day. It's okay because we need sleep, but when you sit all day after that, you tax your spine, you tax all those nerves there. So what does that do? That sends this up the sympathetic chain, danger, 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 and we got a problem. So that can become an issue. That's why sedentary lifestyle now kills more people than smoking. Okay, but people don't do anything. So chiropractic, you adjust the spine, we calm the nervous system, get those joints and those muscles moving again to relax that. That's why chiropractic calms your nervous system. That's why we adjust you. Okay. Calming all the chatter, the self-talk. All right. So whatever you want to do, whether it's meditation, okay. Some people do yoga. There's certain people that are into Reiki and those kind of things. Whatever it is, prayer, meditation, whatever it is that somebody wants to do is entirely up to them. Those are also good ideas that someone can start to do and start implementing. 5 or 10 minutes a day of meditation, if that works for somebody, then that's a beautiful thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so again, exercise, whole foods, chiropractic, and calming all that chatter in the brain, because that's self-talk. People, think about it. If you are going to go, okay, some people don't like to talk in public, all right? Raise your hand if someone hates talking in public. Okay, perfect, right? So let's use this as an example. If I told you 2 weeks ahead of time that you need to talk tonight, you got 2 weeks to self-talk and freak out, right? You got 2 weeks for that to build up in your brain and say, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But if you already knew what you were talking about either way, and I had you come up now, you don't have time to think about that. So you don't have to do that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you're doing the same thing, you're still doing the talk, it's just not that you're not talking yourself out of it. So that's another way. So you got to do the positive. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. There's many, many ways that you can do that. My point is that in order to do that, you got to start somewhere. Okay, these are a good list of things to start doing from a standpoint of decreasing your stress without drugs. Look, if someone needs drugs in a crisis situation, like I tell them, you know what? You need that for last resort. People need to do that. This is just another avenue that you can take that people can start implementing, because the reality is I want you to be healthy. Okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So be strong, enjoy life, live your full potential, whatever that may be. That is going to be different for each and every individual, whatever the case may be, okay? And so I think that's around it tonight, about 30 minutes. I appreciate everyone coming tonight. Now, again, our next talk is going to be in December, I believe the 14th. It's going to be about gut health and how it connects to the brain, that gut-mind connection, and how the gut can deal with thinking. So that's something. And then next week is our Patient Appreciation Day. So questions? We will talk a little bit about leaky gut. Yes, we can talk about leaky gut, and that's the gut and the immune system down here, and how it works with the brain. It's pretty cool. It's amazing with how the body works and how many different things and how many different parts and how it functions. It's amazing.
What did you say?
Digestion. She asked about, it's going to talk about digestion and leaky gut and those kind of things. So yeah, absolutely, that'll be December. So yeah, any questions at all about that? Any help answer any questions? If it all makes sense, or you go over anything else again? I know I jabber sometimes, so maybe I talk too fast, so I apologize. But any questions at all? Okay. Well, it's 7:01, almost 7:02. We're all set.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Just one thing,
Yeah.
even when you take some time off to refresh yourself, your normal body activities are not the same. Like say you take a vacation.
Yeah.
Now you're not doing all the things you normally do to keep your body functioning the way it's used to functioning.
Right. Because you're on vacation.
Yeah, because
Well, you should be on vacation.
Yeah, but
right?
something goes awry in your digestion because you're not doing the activity you always do. So it's like your brain recognizes it's time to slow down. Okay, everything slows down.
Yeah, and yeah, it is true.
And then you
you'll
go,
have different-
okay,
you'll have
now
different
what?
patterns
Oh,
of restroom and things like that.
yeah.
You're absolutely right.
So it's
3 or 4 days into the vacation.
yeah, 3 or 4
Yeah.
days in.
It
Yeah.
takes the body a while to catch up.
So we have to learn from our experiences and go from there.
And then
That's
you know
a
you gotta
thought.
make sure that when you're on vacation, you're actually on vacation. That's some people's problem too, right? You
Yes.
go, 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 go. But the reality is that America. I don't know if you guys know this. I know I've told some people this that started with me that we take almost like 62% of all the drugs in the entire world. Americans. How many countries are there?
That's awful.
62%. Because that's the system. That's the system. And that's the sad truth. All right. So look, again, some people that started me. I had a staph infection one time. I was miserable. I was in the hospital for a week. I had MRSA. It was like 10 years ago, and I didn't know where I got it. You still only get that from the hospital, but I got it somewhere from the gym or something. I had this looked like a bug bite. Problem was I'd already had a guy strip, and I was going out of town to Chicago for that weekend when I lived there, and I was like, well, it was no big deal because it was like on Wednesday. Well, Sunday. I could barely walk. I was laying down the whole time. I fell asleep in my friend's car over the weekend. I was absolutely exhausted. And it got to the size, and I wanted to emerge because I was, it was a guy's trip and I was having fun, right? So I didn't want to ruin that time, which is down on my apartment. I was, mid-20s. It is what it is. It was the size of probably, I kid you not, the size of a softball. And if you cut that softball in half, it was that big. It was just this huge. So I went to my medical doc on Monday when I got back. That next morning, he's like, you're going to emergency room. And I was in the hospital for a week, and then 48 hours after that, they found out it was actually MRSA. They were treating me for just a regular staph infection, so the drugs they gave me weren't working, obviously.
No.
I mean, they cut me open and they got it out of it, so it was miserable, actually. It's very painful to be cut down there. But I needed medicine, all right? I needed medication because it saved my life, because I don't know who knows what you know about MRSA, but I learned a lot more about it after I had it.
Yeah.
It's miserable. You go through your bloodstream, it can go through everywhere, it can break up, and if it goes through everything, you can get limbs cut off. It can be a really, really bad deal, and you can die from that. And you can have, so, hey, vancomycin at the time is what saved my life. I had a PICC line for 2.5 weeks, so it helped me in a crisis situation. I'm not, 100% opposed to medications. I get it.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm not going to go sit and take one for anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm worried about talking up here, which, hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. First year of my college, I dropped speech class. I was so nervous. I dropped speech class. I was like, can't do it. I don't like to do it. I don't want to talk in front of people.
Yeah.
So it happens.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate it, ladies and gents. You guys have a good rest of your night.